Welcome back to, I think, episode 10 now of the Sports Lab podcast. I'm so
Yes,
grateful we've
indeed.
made it now double digit episodes with my co host, Thomas Bailey. We're here to talk about week two of the NFL, go over last night's game a little bit of week two college or week three college football. How you doing today?
All right, man. It's been a crazy week of football. Obviously, we're getting ready for week 2 in the NFL, so it's exciting.
Yeah. Obviously, capped off by we're both Bills fans. A great game last night as the Bills win 31-10. Unfortunately, though, there is a bigger story that came out of this game, and my heart goes out with Tua having another really bad concussion. He had the similar reaction in that Bengals concussion from 2 years ago, and people were talking about maybe he should retire then. Now there's a lot of talk about saying he should retire. This is his fourth concussion and 3 seasons now, and every one of them has looked pretty bad. So, what are your thoughts on this situation?
I mean, at this point, I saw a post the other day, and it was like saying how he has to be a quarterback for his family as well. So it's almost like this is it's a very big problem. Obviously, I mean, if your fingers are like contorting like that means that you're basically having a seizure from these hits, and in any kind of sport, any type of thing like that is very frowned upon. You do not want to come back, especially as soon as he did the first time with the Milano injury, then come back and play later on that same season. It's a very big thing in the NFL today. Obviously, that's one thing they've been doing with the Guardian caps, all this other stuff. The safety of the players, of course, is what they want. And right there, Tua's got to slide. He's got to slide. He tries to go and get the first down. He already had it, but I mean, he didn't know that. He didn't understand where he was on the field. And that's very understandable, especially being down in that game. Like he knew what he had to do. And for Hamlin to like just kind of put the arm up, it hit him right there, just bad hit on Tua's end. Not on Hamlin. Hamlin didn't do anything wrong. Hamlin did nothing wrong. It just hit him in the arm. Nothing wrong on Hamlin's end, but very tough to look at. Very tough to see Tua do this again. And it's I really do agree with the I can't remember who actually posted this. His name's escaping my brain, but he said that you got a quarterback like your family at this point. You got to be the quarterback for your family. So I do think that it's very important that he kind of very much so considers retiring this time, considering this is the fourth time in a few years.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm not just saying this as like a Bills
A
fan
Bills
that doesn't
fan,
want to
right?
face
Yeah,
Tua. No,
exactly.
this is totally unbiased. I genuinely think like because as much as we love the NFL and our lives revolve around it, at the end of the day, it is just a game, and there is things that are bigger than the NFL, and this is one of them. It's a person's health, especially, and it's not like he's broken like the same bone 4 times. This is your head, this is your brain. Like serious brain damage will affect you for the rest of your life. So it's just at this point, because now even if he does come back, they have to like caper their offense so much around just protecting him, because if he's one hit away from even more damage, where he's kind of hurting the team also. So it's not like he's if he wants to come back and try and be a hero, he's not really helping anyone else out. Like at this
Right.
point, I really think it's sad because he had a very promising career. But I think it is time to hang it up and just go live your life. You did make millions while you're in the NFL, and just go enjoy yourself while you can, instead of hampering your afterlife just for a couple more years out of just at the end of the day, just another game. So I totally agree. I think it is time to hang it up. It's just an awful situation. I would never want to see this to any team, to any player. It really does suck. And then some other injuries on the Bill side. Terrell Bernard, pectoral strain. It looked a lot worse on TV. A lot of people were afraid that maybe he was going to be out for the year, but he did avoid serious injury. He's going to be out for only about a month. And then Teron Johnson did not go on IR. They're hoping he can be back in the next 3 weeks. So thankfully, neither of those injuries are too serious, because those are of the biggest key pieces on this defense. What are your thoughts on those two injuries?
I mean, like you mentioned with Terrell Bernard, a lot of people thought it was a little bit more serious than that. I was included in that category. I did think that it could be a torn pec. I mean, we saw it literally last year with Daquan Jones early in the year. So it's something you don't want to see in the NFL, obviously, especially with the stretch of football we have coming up. We have the Jags, then the Ravens, the Texans, a tough schedule for the next few weeks
And then the
upcoming
Jets.
here. And then the Jets, yes. So the next the next 4 games are going to be all really good games against good opponents. I think the Jags are the worst of the teams, and they are still right there in the playoff mix every year. So I do think that that's a very tough stretch for him to lose him for, obviously. I mean, being like the leader of that defense, obviously being named a captain this year, one of the only 2 captains on the team. So it's a very big thing for him as a leadership standpoint and from a player standpoint. Balin Spector out of Clemson, the 7th rounder from, I believe, the 22 class or whatever with Ben.
Yes.
He's a solid guy, like he can do certain things, but he's not Terrell Bernard. He's not going to eye pop anything crazy. He's not too great. He can just kind of be serviceable in that defense. So if he can kind of keep us afloat, then I'm excited for that. And then Teron Johnson, I think, is the other one you were mentioning, right?
Yeah,
Teron Johnson, he'll probably be back for the Week 3 game, which is exciting. There's been reports that he could potentially miss that game too, but I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to be a week and a half until that game even happens. So he's going to get some good, long, well-deserved rest, and maybe he sneaks into the lineup. If he doesn't, I'm completely fine with that. Ingram and Lewis have played well in his place. So other than that, I do think Teron Johnson's is not going to be anything that lingers long-term, and it's very fortunate for the Bills that these are not long-term injuries this time around, especially with all the losses we had on the defense this offseason.
Yes. And we will go more into the game on Tuesday when me and Thomas both get a chance to rewatch the game and really look, just get a real good analysis of what's going on. But I just want to give some quick thoughts. Obviously, James Cook, 3 touchdowns. Josh Allen didn't have a big game, but made some big-time throws when was needed. And then the defensive side of the ball, Christian Benford continuing to look like he took another step into a Pro Bowl level corner with a pass breakup that led to a pick and then an interception himself. Jamarcus Ingram, 2 picks, 1 is a pick 6. Dorian Williams looked better. Cam Lewis continued to look good. Eddie with a great sack. Vaughn continued to look like he's back to his old self. Overall, what were your thoughts on this? Quick thoughts on this game.
I mean, as a Bills fan, everything you could have asked for happened in this game. I had 28-17. I thought Miami might pull away in the beginning, and they start the game off with the interception. We go down, we get the points. And so, to start off this game doing so well, it's refreshing. As a Bills fan, we normally kind of suck in the first half, and we kind of build it up in the second half, come back, make closer games like that. So it's a lot better to see that from them. Like you mentioned with Von Miller, he was right there like every play, especially at the end with Skylar Thompson in there. He literally just missed swiping his hand to smack the ball out. Like Thompson just got it out in time. So Miller's kind of doing a lot better. I mean, again, it's Austin Jackson. He was doing that too. So who really knows?
Austin Jackson's a decent tackle.
I don't think he's terrible, but then again, I mean,
he did get to a second contract on the team, so at least he's good enough to get that.
Well, so did Ramsey, but
I'm saying after being drafted though. Ramsey's on his third team.
Well, right, but I do think that they did a very good job containing them. I think they wanted to make sure Rousseau didn't have a great game, so Von Miller kept getting constantly one-on-one, and that was very good for us. Ed Oliver up the middle got some push too, which is nice to see considering last week he kind of was irrelevant against a pretty terrible Cardinals O-line. So I think that this defense is starting to step up. They're starting to get to the normal selves that we're going to see for the rest of the year. Obviously, the 2 injuries with Johnson and Bernard are a little bit concerning, but I do think that our defense is doing fine right now. And again, Jamarcus Ingram, absolute legend from UB. I mean, amazing game from him. And that Tua interception that was returned for a pick 6, that looked a lot like the Will Levis one last week. That's all I thought about. And no offense to Tua, obviously, with everything going on, you got to throw that ball farther, though. You got to be able to throw that ball farther than 10 yards, because that's really not that far out when you think about it. You got to be able to get that ball out of bounds at least. And right there he doesn't, and it results in 6 points the other way. So very good job on defense for the Bills. And then the offense, like you mentioned, James Cook, absolute masterclass there. The 50-yard touchdown run. What else can you really say? Great game from the offense and the defense, and we come away with a big win in Miami.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What is really making me super excited is that we won a game like this with Josh Allen having 140 yards and a touchdown. Exactly. We won it off of defense and running. And after
Allen didn't even run either.
Yeah. exactly. After this offseason, everyone was like, oh, if the Bills are going to be able to make the playoffs, Josh is going to have to carry. He's going to have to do everything. And then it takes till week 2 for us to have a game where Josh isn't Superman. He doesn't really have to do anything. It was very similar to that Cowboys game last year and people are like, oh, I want to see more out of Josh. I would rather Josh throw for 140 yards and a touchdown every week and us win by 21 than last week where he has to go Superman mode and us barely beat the Cardinals. Like, yeah, I have Josh Allen in a fantasy league. Yeah, I would love to see Josh Allen win an MVP. He's my MVP prediction. But I'll give all that up for a team like this because a team like this could go win the Super Bowl. I mean, our defense just played the way they did against a high-powered offense without our top 2 linebackers, one of 2 All-Pros, and Teron Johnson, Matt Milano, and then Terrell Bernard, like 3 of our key players on our defense, some of the only players that we brought back from last year after having so much turmoil, and they're already gone. And then you have players like Dorian Williams, Balin Spector, Jamarcus Ingram, and Cam Lewis really step up in this game and next man up, and they did a great job with it. So I'm really excited to see how this defense continues to play under new defensive coordinator Bobby Babich, who I was raving about this offseason because as a positions coach, he was a magician. The way he was able to turn the linebacker and safety groups around, I'm like, imagine now that he has full control of the defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Joe Brady was also in his bag too. He was absolutely cooking. I mean, that James Cook touchdown, the receiving one, I saw someone break it down. The way he was able to have James Cook and Curtis Samuel both go in motion on that play. So then Josh Allen was able to read the coverage. They find out it's man. Then they have Shakir and Mack basically run pick routes. I mean, they're routes, but they're just basically setting picks. So then James Cook has a wide open lane to be able to go and run it for a touchdown on 4th and 3, which normally we kick field goals. So I love to see McDermott have trust, especially with a new supporting cast, that we can go and get that first. All around just
turnover too, like that early in the game. Most times McDermott last year or seasons prior, let's just take our 3, let's just get off the field, some points, to start the game.
I was even saying,
yeah. And then on the defensive side for the Dolphins, absolutely terrible. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but the Jalen Phillips comes down to play contain there, and then you got the corner Kader Kohu who comes in to kind of like blitz Josh Allen. They thought Allen was going to run, which I think is just dumb considering the whole thing with his hand. You kind of should have expected he wasn't going to run that ball, but they weren't expecting it. He just lofts it right over Kohu's head, just barely, by the way, over his hands. But I mean, Cook catches the ball, and there's no one even close at that point. Just free touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, I just really love to see the aggression there. And then you brought up Balin Spector being from that 2022 class. Looking back on it, imagine if we had drafted Tyler Linderbaum in the first round instead of Kyrie Elam. That 2022 Bills draft would be the best draft since the 2017 Saints. Because then after the Elam blunder, being absolutely cooked, James Cook in the 2nd round, Terrell Bernard in the 3rd round, Khalil Shakir in the 5th round, Christian Benford in the 6th round, and Balin Spector in the 7th.
And Matt Araiza, if we would have kept Matt Araiza too.
Exactly. He absolutely cooked. It just sucked that he took.
I'm not even going to lie to you. He still cooked, even with the Elam pick.
Well, yes, but imagine if we take Tyler Linderbaum there. We have it's between us and Detroit for the best offensive line in football. If we have Linderbaum, right now I think our line's top 5 with the way they're playing. I mean, Dawkins and Spencer Brown are playing like practically all pros right now. And then our interior line, which was the concern, they've been opening up holes in the run game. I think part of it you got to give to coaching the schemes a lot better. I think Ken Dorsey's just running scheme is just absolutely terrible. Joe Brady is he's one of the best non-Shanahan offensive minds out there right now. I mean, it's like him, probably Ben Johnson's up there. And I'm not really sure else because the Shanahan tree is what's dominating. So really, it's probably just them two, the two best. Not Andy Reid and Andy Reid. He's probably behind Ben Johnson, and Andy Reid is the 3rd best non-Shanahan mind in the league right now. So I'm really excited to see how this continues to grow. Obviously, we're going to continue to getting tested early in the year as we do have Jacksonville next Monday night.
7:30, by the way.
It's 7:30?
Yeah, I'm so serious. I looked it up. I did a preview for the newspaper.
Yeah, that is
7:30, not 8:15. And I was just confused because I thought there might be like one of the doubleheader things like they did a few years ago.
I'm not complaining.
There's no other 8:15.
So I can get home a little bit earlier. I mean, really, I'm really not complaining. I get to get home an extra 45 minutes early. I mean, I don't have to wake up early on Tuesdays, but still, I mean, so.
Oh, I mean, I
But
do. So I'm very
yeah, I
appreciative.
guess. Yeah. Moving on though to week 1, we're gonna go over our game predictions. Last week, I did come out on top over Thomas. I went 13-3,
One
only
game, man.
picking Falcons. The Falcons game wrong. I picked them to beat the Steelers. I picked the Bengals to beat the Patriots, and I picked the Panthers to beat the Saints. I was very wrong on that. Thomas, I had a better record than you. I don't want to hear it. Thomas also picked the Falcons and the Bengals, but he also picked the Raiders and then picked the Broncos. He was so confident in that upset pick. Unfortunately, it did not happen.
It was close.
So, not really.
I mean,
the score is a lot closer than the game actually.
No, I know, but I'm saying to lose by just 6 points when they played that bad. I mean, honestly, if they would have put a decent game plan together, they would have won that game.
I don't think so. It was not nearly as close as the score was. That was a garbage touchdown. It was a 2-touchdown game. And Kenny Walker was injured in the 4th, so they couldn't run the ball as well. And yeah, no. But moving on to the first game of the slate, we'll go with Packers Colts. Jordan Love has already been ruled out, so Malik Willis will be starting. What are your thoughts on this game?
I think it's over by halftime. 28-7 is my score prediction, and I'm being generous with that. I think Josh Jacobs has a solid game. I feel like sorry. I do feel like at the beginning of this game, Packers are going to keep it close. They're going to run the ball a couple times, work off play action, run with Willis. And I think that once the Colts finally see what they're doing, they're going to shut it down in the second half. They're not going to be able to do anything on offense. I could see them maybe getting a few more points, the Packers that being, and like maybe 10-14. But I do think that the Anthony Richards show continues to roll here. I think he has a solid game against a pretty leaky secondary outside of Alexander and McKinney now. So, I mean, Bullard looked nice in his debut, but who's to say he keeps that up? And then with Eric Stokes, I mean, it's just a lost cause at this point. But honestly, I do think that Josh Downs, if he plays, would have a very solid game. If he doesn't play, then it's whatever. But I do think Adonai Mitchell kind of gets into the scene a little bit in this game. Michael Pittman could potentially be shut down by Alexander, but I think he does solid. I think Taylor and Richardson are going to run the ball down their throat a lot. It's going to be a lot of running. Big hitters in the passing game. Very Shane Steichen-like offense here. And they're going to have this one done pretty easy, 28-7 without Jordan Love.
Yeah, I agree. I as I've been saying, the Packers will not win a single game with Malik Willis starting because he absolutely sucks. But I think they will do a little bit better just because I don't think the Colts defense is very good, and they've been battling some injuries on the defensive side.
Questionable too,
so I will go 31-14 Colts. Again, I think the Colts do blow them out. I expect Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor to just walk up and down on that defense. But I think with the injuries, I think the Packers will be able to have a decent rushing attack where they'll be able to put together a couple of scoring drives. I mean, Malik Willis isn't a good thrower, but at least he can run the ball. So the read option with him and Josh Jacobs could be pretty decent. Marshawn Lloyd should be.
I would like to mention that this is where Josh Jacobs earns his money these next few weeks.
Yeah. So I mean, I expect them to at least put a couple of scoring drives together. So yeah, give me Colts 31-14. The next game we have is the Raiders versus the Ravens.
Yeah, nothing to see here again for me. I have 34-13 in favor of Baltimore. I don't like the Ravens, not Ravens, but Raiders defense like that. Obviously Wiggins is injured with
getting in a car crash.
The car crash thing that happened and stuff. Mark Andrews, him, like I don't know what the deal is with car crashes, but I mean, it's whatever. Like you keep doing you, Georgia. I mean, Baltimore. Anyway.
Did you see another Georgia player got arrested for speeding today?
Yeah, I did too. So
going 106 miles an hour. How do they keep doing it? It doesn't make any sense.
The irony just doesn't make sense. It's just
what are they in their team meetings? Do they play GTA or something?
Yeah, I know. Like I don't know what happens, but something's going down.
They play Forza.
Forza. I don't know. Like I do think that this game's pretty much over. I think that Lamar has a solid game. I think they're going to run the ball a lot with Henry, especially in the second half. I think they'll have a solid lead. Obviously Minshew is the dink and dunk kind of offensive guy, and I feel like the Ravens thrive against that. Look at what they did against Cleveland last year with Deshaun Watson. They had a very solid game in that regard with that because really just the quarterbacks that dink and dunk on their defense, that doesn't work very well. Same with Tua late in the year last year. They just destroyed the Dolphins when he did that. So the only real time you can beat the Ravens is if you hit them over the top. You get really smart with it. I don't know if Antonio Pearson, I don't know who their offensive coordinator's name off the top of my head, but I don't think that they have the scheme to do that. I don't think they're going to have a great running game. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot in this game if they want to win. I don't think Zamir White's going to have like some career day or something, but or Alexander Madison for that matter. But I do think that they end up getting a couple, like a touchdown, a couple field goals here. So 13 points for them. And then Baltimore's offense is going to have a very good game, I feel, as well. So give me the Ravens 34-13 in a blowout win.
I have the Ravens also, but as I said off air, I think this game's a lot closer because I think the issue with the Chargers game is they have a very good offensive line, so they would have just run it down the Raiders' throats and get them tired. The thing is, the Ravens' offensive line sucks, and I don't think Derrick Henry's that good anymore either. I think the rushing attack is not that good. If they can just focus on trying to contain Lamar, I think Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby will be able to blow up that run game. I mean, these defensive ends are in that defensive line. It's the Raiders have a better defensive line than the Chiefs. I get Chris Jones is Chris Jones, but Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson, it's better than the Chiefs. Their defensive ends are much better, so Max Crosby will be able to keep more contained on Lamar. So I think they slow down this offense a little bit more than the Chiefs were able to. But yeah, I don't see the Raiders being able to score much on this Raiders defense. It might even be 20-10. I just want this game to kind of be close, so I picked 20-13. But I think this is a lower scoring game. But yeah, give me the Ravens. And
also,
the next,
you mentioned lock of the weeks. That's my lock of the week.
oh, I was gonna ask you it afterwards, but okay.
Oh, sorry. I figured we'd just do it now.
The next game I have is Browns Jaguars.
Ooh, I do think this one's a little bit closer than last week. I do think that if there's a team that the Browns can beat, it's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars for the simple fact that they don't have that great of a pass defense outside of Tyson Campbell. I mean, I'm not too low
Who's
on
going to be able to throw? Yeah, you're going to need a quarterback to throw him the ball.
Well, yeah, but I mean, realistically, if you throw 5-6 yard passes consistently, like you're going to get decent zones open. And I understand that, but I do think that they have a solid game. I don't think they win. I don't think they win. I'll throw that out there right now. My score prediction is 24-17 Jacksonville. I think the Jaguars struggle a little bit in the first half. They kind of get back to what they were used to in the second half, put this one away with ETN in the fourth, and come away with a 7-point win. A little bit closer than a lot of people might have this game. A lot of people probably like 24-10 or 6 or something. But I think that the Jacksonville defense is going to be the reason why this game's even close. I think same thing with the Cleveland defense. I think the Cleveland defense is going to play a solid game, especially to start. They'll be nice. But I do think that the Jacksonville Jaguars come away with a win, and the Browns start 0-2 with Massage Watson.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Jags win this game, but I have the final score being 20-10. I think the way you were describing the Jags defense, I actually think works in their favor because their strength is their run defense. And that's what the Browns try and rely on is their run offense. I think the Jags will be able to shut down that, and they're going to force Deshaun to throw or Massage, and he is absolutely terrible. As the people on Barstool were saying, Deshaun is so bad at football, he might be a better football player than he is a person. And I honestly might agree with it. And he is a garbage human being. He's just that much worse as a football player. He is just god-awful. Literally the worst move of all time, the worst trade, the worst contract ever is Deshaun Watson. That's why Browns fans are hoping that the new civil lawsuit will get the NFL to punish him so they can void that contract and just get out from that mess because, oh boy, it is looking pretty bleak there. My 6-11 protection for the Browns are looking pretty good right now, if I don't say so myself. So I think that the Jags, I mean, they only scored 17 on the Dolphins, and the Browns defense is better. Granted, they were 1 yard away from having a touchdown and being at 24, but I think the Browns will be able to hold Jags offense a little bit more because the Browns do have a pretty good defense, but I don't see them scoring much. So yeah, 20-10. Yeah. The next game we have is Jets-Titans.
Another one that I think is not going to be that competitive. Coming into last week, everybody knew with the Jets, that it was a long shot to win against the 49ers. Even after McCaffrey was injured, they were like, well, still, they have all the offense. They have a very good defense. Are the Jets going to be able to keep up? Are they going to be able to win this game? And realistically, I kind of figured they weren't. Even when McCaffrey was there, I kind of had a little bit more hope that the Jets could win. But at the same time, I figured that Shanahan would figure it out and work very well off that, and he did very well. So I think this is the week that the Jets finally get that first win. I think this is a week they put an extensive game plan in. They're ready to go for this Titans game, and this is one that they have to win, in my opinion. This is a absolute have to win, and I get it. It's week 2, but if you can't beat the Tennessee Titans, bro, then we're going to have a big issue because you're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. You're supposed to be this, that, and the third, and that's not to crap on the Titans at all. It's not to crap on the Titans. It's just to say how good of a team the Jets are supposed to be. This is a game that they have to win. This is one that they just can't lose to Will Levis and the Titans. That defense is not even nearly as good as the 49ers. You definitely have to score at least 20 points. My score prediction is 28-14. I think the Titans offense is what's going to keep them in this game. I think that defense is just pretty bad, especially the linebacking core. It's absolutely atrocious for the Titans.
Ernest Jones? Did you forget they just traded for Ernest Jones?
No, I didn't forget that. It's just Ernest Jones. He's on a new team, and I understand. But like
he was pretty good last week.
Yeah, but the thing is it's one guy. There's 3 linebackers on the defense.
Most teams run nickel now, so it's probably 2.
It's still though. At the end of the day, I don't think that defense is all that great. I think Jeffrey Sims is your D lineman. That's pretty much it. In the secondary, you got L'Jarius Sneed. You brought in Chidobe Awuzie as well, which is a solid addition. But realistically, the safeties aren't that great anymore. I mean, it's a solid I don't even know. Really,
I don't even know who them are. Yeah, no, their safeties probably aren't that good.
I know like Gilman.
Are they starting Jamal Adams?
No, yeah, but we're very far past his prime, Jamal Adams. So
yeah, Blitz.
I do think the Jets win this one convincingly by 14 is my score. 28-14. Jets get their first win with Rodgers under center.
Give me Jets 24-7. I actually don't think either offenses do that great because Nathaniel Hackett's a complete and utter moron. He's the worst coach in the league. But I am starting Jets defense in a league that I desperately need to win, so I'm projecting 2 pick sixes. I mean, Will Levis likes to throw pick sixes. I mean, he gave a free one to the Bears, and the Jets defense is better than the Bears. So what's to say? I mean, the Bears scored, 3 defensive touchdowns last week? What's to say the Jets can't get 2?
Well, one was special teams.
Shut up.
Blocked punt.
Shut up. Still, that's okay. A blocked punt's fine because it's defense / special teams. So the Jets, I just need Jets defense points. I don't really care about the rest of the Jets. I don't really have much investment besides I need to win in that league. And Will Levis apparently sucks. I thought he was going to take a step, but nope, a little too much mayonnaise in his coffee, and he is not good. But moving on to the next game, we have the 49ers without Christian McCaffrey already ruled out, and he might possibly be going on IR against the Minnesota Vikings.
31-13, the 49ers win this game. I'm not convinced in the Sam Darnold show. I mean, yes, you did it against the Giants defense, and I like Sam Darnold. I've been raving about him all offseason about how he could potentially take that step, but you're playing the best defense in all of football, in my opinion, in the San Francisco 49ers. You have Fred Warner there. You have Nick Bosa. You have a solid offensive line, but is Nick Bosa going to be able to get through Brian O'Neill? I think yes. I think that Nick Bosa is one
Christian
of the top.
Darrisaw?
Christian Darrisaw is on the left side, so.
Oh, okay, you're right. Nick Bosa is right on. Yep.
Yeah. So right tackle being Brian O'Neill, but I do think that the defense is going to be what's going to lose this game for the Vikings. I think they're going to become a one-dimensional offense. I think something about their team last week compared to this week when I was looking back at the highlights is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones being able to run the ball, then work off play action, kind of use Darnold as a game manager was perfect. Realistically, this week's not going to work that way because they're going to stuff the run early. They're going to force you to pass. You're going to go down by a touchdown or 2, and you're going to have to throw the ball a lot with Darnold. And of all quarterbacks in the league, Darnold is probably like mid in that category for me of who I would trust in a situation to have to throw the ball 25, 30 times in a game because realistically, I don't know if that's his kind of style. I don't know if that's his kind of game. I think he'll do solid. I just don't think he's going to be enough to get them a win against one of the best teams in all of football. I think they roll through again, even without McCaffrey. Jordan Mason has another solid game. I think Ayuk finally gets involved here, and the 49ers pull away by halftime and win this one 31-13.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the Niners are going to have much of a challenge here against the Vikings. I'm going to go with 30 or no, I won't steal your number. I'll go with 34-17. Jettas will have a crazy game because I need him for fantasy, so I'm just gonna predict.
Yes.
Yes, please give me 102 tutties. I need it. But anyways, I do think that the Vikings have a decent offense. They have much better play calling than the Jets. And I think the Jets, they were able to get some garbage touchdowns at the end. I could see the same thing again with the Vikings. So, but yeah, I don't see the Vikings being able to stop the Niners defense or the Niners offense whatsoever, even without McCaffrey. That running game they were dicing up the Jets defense. The Jets defense is miles better than the Vikings. So I don't, and this was with Jordan Mason never really playing before and a rusty Brandon Ayuk. Now Mason's got a game under him that he had a really good game, so his confidence up. He's getting used to it. And then Ayuk's another week back, full week of practice, not facing Sauce Gardner. He should be much better. So yeah, I expect this game to be it. I could predict 34-10, but I'll go 34-17 because I just want to Jettis garbage touchdown at the end for fantasy. So I'll go with that. Going to the next game, we have the Chargers versus the awful Panthers.
24-6, and I think 6 is being very generous, especially against the Jim Harbaugh defense. But I'm sorry, Panthers fans. I just want to send out my condolences to you and your franchise. Maybe in the next life you'll actually have a solid team, but at least until I'm 100 years old, I don't think the Panthers are ever going to be good at football at this point in my life. I do think that this is going to be another one of those games for them that's just going to be ugly from the start. I think that not the Patriots, geez. I think that the Chargers start off this game very well. I think they're going to lean on the ground game a lot. Herbert's still nursing that finger issue and stuff like that. So I do think that he'll just kind of ease his way back into it. He's been dealing with a couple different things. So I think he kind of game manages this one. He doesn't have to do too much. Just hand the ball off to Dobbins, get him the ball a few times, throw a few passes here and there, kind of build up some chemistry, but that's about it. I think that this one's going to be over by the first kickoff. Realistically,
It's already over.
It's over before it starts. I'm sorry, Panthers fans, but you're making a very strong case to go 0-17, and I think that this is a game that you have no chance in, especially against a coach like Jim Harbaugh. So 24-6, Chargers win.
I will also go Chargers. This is going to be my lock of the week. I think
I
might just pick
original.
Yeah, I don't really care. I think my lock's going to be whoever's the Panthers facing every week. Sue me. I'm going to go with the Chargers 33-10, and my hot take for this game is the Chargers will have at least 250 rushing yards as a team. The Panthers were dead last. The Panthers' rushing defense was dead last year.
With Derek Brown.
And Frankie Louvu, their best linebacker. Frankie Louvu left in free agency, and Derek Brown's injured against a team that just ran all over the Raiders defense. Imagine what they're going to do with it. Yeah, exactly. Imagine what they're going to do with the Panthers defense. They're going to average 7 yards a carry probably. This is going to be just an absolute disaster. But I will say the Panthers get 10 points because I'm hoping Deontay Johnson can have a better game. I need him. I drafted him a lot thinking the Panthers weren't going to be this bad. Proven wrong, but maybe I can hope the Saints do have good corners, so maybe that's why Deontay Johnson got locked up. The Chargers corners aren't as good, so hopefully something can. I don't know. The Panthers are a mess. They suck. Yeah, give me the Chargers by a lot. The next game we have, which could sneakily be a good game, is the Seahawks-Patriots.
See, like last week with the Broncos, how I picked the Broncos to win. I think that the Patriots are a team that could do that just a little bit better. Obviously, they have a little bit better of a quarterback in Jacoby Brissett than Bo Nix. I think that he's more of a game manager, so he's not going to be the reason they lose this game like Bo Nix was for the Broncos. He threw a couple picks that really cost them. So while I do say all those nice things, Kenneth Walker is injured, and I do think that this is going to be a very lower scoring game. And I have by a final score of 17-13. The Seattle Seahawks narrowly defeating the New England Patriots. I just think that Tyler Lockett gets going in this game. I don't like anybody on the defense outside of Christian Gonzalez, especially with Jabril Peppers still in the.
What about Kyle Duggar?
Oh, it is. Okay, Kyle Duggar too. But yeah, I mean, as the safety role, I think that he can do solid. With Jabril Peppers just coming back into the fold and stuff, still being questionable for this game. Let's see how that goes. But I do think that Tyler Lockett and Smith and Jigba are going to get some solid play here. I do think that Metcalf beats Gonzalez one-on-one sometimes. And I think that it's going to be just enough to get them past the Patriots. I don't think that the Patriots defense is terrible anymore. I think they'll be able to slow down this offense, especially without Kenny Walker. But I do think that the New England Patriots offense is going to be what cost them this game. I don't think that their offense was all that great last week against Cincinnati, which I think the Bengals defense got a mile worse in the offseason with losing Reader, losing Awuzie. Dax Hill has still yet to take that step as a safety. So realistically, I do think that this one's going to be pretty close, but I'm going to lean on the Seahawks because I'm trusting their offense a tiny bit more, which makes me nervous, but I'm going to pick them 17-13.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Seahawks 20-10, but I could see this being a very close game. I just think that the Patriots, they could only score 16 on the Bengals defense. I think the Seahawks defense is much better. I mean, what was the final score last week's game against the Broncos?
26-20.
So they allowed 20, but then you take 4 of that away from
The
safeties, and then you take away the garbage touchdown they allowed at the end, and they really allowed 9 points when it was an actual game. So I expected a similar outcome. The Patriots do have a little bit better, so I could see them maybe getting to 13, but I'll just go with 10. And then Kenny Walker is probably not going to play. He is doubtful, but I think Zach Charbonnet is pretty decent, and I think Christian Gonzalez locks up DK, but I do think that JSN and Tyler Lockett will have decent games, so I think they'll be able to get it moving a little bit. I think the defense will be able to force a couple of turnovers and put the offense in some pretty good positions where they can end up scoring like 20 points. So give me 20-10 Seahawks. Then moving on to the next game, we have the Saints versus the Cowboys.
So the Saints showed some flashes on offense last week. They went nuts, and it's the Panthers, though. So at the end of the day, that's not really something that I hold as that's a participation award is what you won last week. I don't care that Derek Carr threw for 3 touchdowns. Again, it's the Panthers defense. Derek Carr is not some fucking Jesus-led quarterback now.
You don't have car insurance?
Yeah, oh my God. Okay, bro. I don't think he's going to be all that great. I think he's going to run into a brick wall. I think that the horse that the Cowboys are riding in, I think they're going to be a little bit better off in this game. I think at that Browns defense last week, he put up 34 points. And yes, one of them was the punt return touchdown, a few short fields for the offense. But you got a Saints defense, which is a lot worse, in my opinion. I wouldn't say a lot worse, but they're not very good either. They're middle of the pack. They're all right. But I do think 31-17 Dallas gets the job done here. I think that they're going to pretty much handle this one. And yes, I have 17 points, unfortunately, for the Saints. I do think that the offense still does solid in this game against a pretty mid defense in Dallas. I think they're like top 12, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, see, one thing when I was very against the Saints that I did not know about, and this would have changed my thoughts on, they hired San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator to be their offensive coordinator, and you know how much I love everyone from the Shanahan tree. So I did not know that. And then I found that out, and I'm like, oh, that's probably why their offense looks so much better than I thought it was going to be. Their rushing attack looked really good. And Taliese Fuaga looked like a stud. The interior offensive line looked pretty decent, granted.
He's
against
questionable for this game.
I think he ends up playing. But the Cowboys, what's the weakness on their defense? Their run defense. It's always been their weakness. So I expect the Saints to be able to establish a pretty good ground game to keep this game close, keep the Cowboys offense off the field. But ultimately, the Cowboys do have the better quarterback, the better defense. Yeah, the better coaching probably. So give me
Dennis Allen's not great. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So give me the Cowboys 20-17 in a close one. I think I think now that I realize that the Saints have Clint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator, I'm much higher on them than I was before. That's just how much I love the Shanahan tree because, again, it's 100% success rate.
I love the Shanahan tree. Their offense is going to be great. 17 points. No.
Well, they still have Derek Carr throwing to Rashid Shaheed as his wide receiver too. I think
I like Shaheed.
Yeah, if Clint Kubiak wasn't his offensive coordinator, I would go 34-7.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
think his running schemes keep this game close. That's really what it is. But the reason they only score 17 is the talent gap. The Cowboys are a much more talented team. But I think the running schemes that Kubiak it's going to be able to Kamara is going to be able to have a good game. Jamal Williams is healthy. So I think that's a good 1-2 duo in the running game. And the offensive line looked better than I thought. So yeah, give me the Cowboys 20-17 in a close one. The next game we have is the Giants versus the Commanders. Basically, what my thought is, it's a movable object versus a stoppable force when you have the Giants on offense and the Commanders on defense, because the Giants offense is one of the worst in the league and the Commanders defense is one of the worst in the league. So I really don't know what's going to happen with that.
So I was way back and forth on this game for a long time. I really was thinking about picking the Giants for a long time due to that pass rush. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is not the greatest under pressure. We've seen it back in college days. He kind of excels when his offensive line is elite, like Will Campbell and everybody else he had in LSU's offensive line. So to see what he's got right now with like Sam Cosmi, like as his best guy, is not exactly ideal for them in that situation. So Chase Rulier, I guess, is the center. Not exactly the greatest offensive line. I think Kayvon Thibodeau and them eat in this game, and I feel like the Giants and the Commanders, for whatever reason, every single game they play is very close. It's always like a one-score game, and it's normally lower scoring. So I picked 17-9 Washington. I think it can go either way, but I just trust the Giants defense, not Giants defense, but I trust the Giants offense significantly less than I do the Commanders. Even as low as I am on Jaden Daniels, I think he's better than Daniel Jones, which, I mean, you can say about like almost every quarterback in the league.
Everyone but Deshaun Watson and maybe Bryce Young.
Malik Willis now, like,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah,
backups, sure. Yeah, there you go.
I get that.
You did it. You're better than Skylar Thompson.
Since the Commanders are favored in this game, I will call this my upset of the week. I am picking the Giants 13-10. Daniel Jones does suck, but I think he'll be able to do better. He'll be able to do better against the Vikings defense. He'll be able to do better against the Commanders defense than he did against the Vikings defense. Not much better because, again, he's bad. But my thing is, Jaden Daniels did not look great against the Bucs. A lot of those yards he had came in garbage time, and now he has to go against Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns with a terrible offensive line. I mean, you got Sam Cosmi, but if you get Sam Cosmi going up against Dexter Lawrence, give me Dexter Lawrence in that matchup pretty easily. So that kind of wipes out their only good offensive lineman. I think Thibodeau and Brian Burns are going to put constant pressure on Jaden Daniels, and he's pretty bad under pressure. He ran for 16 times last week, and his coach came out and said, we want him to throw it more. So I expect him to try and not look to run right away and throw it. And when he's under pressure, he sucks at throwing. I mean, he's not a great passer to begin with, but under pressure, he becomes very inaccurate. So I expect him to have some very bad mistakes, but I don't expect the Giants to capitalize off those mistakes due to the fact that Daniel Jones sucks. So yeah, give me the Giants 13-10 in a game that there's a 0% chance I will be thinking about watching.
Yeah, I'm only gonna have to watch it when Red Zone's playing. So
yeah, I have the Sunday ticket, so I will be putting on other games like this game I'm about to talk about, which could be one of the games of the week. The last game of the 1:00 slate, we have the Buccaneers and the Lions.
Yeah, I have this one as my game of the week this week. I feel like with the way this week's gonna go, I just kind of see this one being a shootout after last week with Baker Mayfield throwing the 4 touchdowns. I think this is going to be one where the Lions offense gets going, and I feel like this is going to be one of those games. I don't know what it is about the Lions, but if the defense is doing great, then the offense is not doing that great. And if the defense is doing poorly, the offense is amazing. So it's I don't know what it is with the Lions that happens, but they're literally me and Madden. And I don't know what it is. If I'm doing great on defense and I'm shutting everybody down and getting interceptions, I'm settling for field goals. I'm only getting 3 points each drive, and it's no reason why I should be doing that. But then if you got a team I'm putting up Mahomes and they're putting up 45 on my head, I'm dropping 52 and I'm winning, and it just makes no sense. So I do think that the Lions win this one 31-27. I think it's going to be a back and forth shootout game. Funny enough, the Lions start their season the same way they ended their season last year. So, do they get the Niners in week 3?
You mean
No, the Lions. They started with the Rams in the wild card.
You're right. You're
Bucks in
right.
the
Now,
divisional.
yeah, you're right. You're
So,
right. Yeah.
locking in Lions, 49ers. They're going to switch the schedule around. They're just going to put them in week 3.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. But I do think that this is the game of the week. I think it's going to be a very good game. I think the Lions are favored to win in this one. Not by much, but they are. And so I'm going to go with Detroit here. I trust them a little bit more.
No, the Lions are favored by a touchdown.
Oh, they're favored by a touchdown. Well,
I think it's like the second biggest line. Yeah, they're favored by more than the Chargers are. That does not make any sense at all.
Yeah, no.
The only team that's favored by more is the Ravens. They're favored by 9.
Oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and say that that's wrong. I'm going to put 4-point difference, 31-27. I think Mayfield has a good game. I think Goff has a good game, and we'll see how it goes. What?
All right, this is not stealing your score prediction because I was going to say Lions 31-27 also.
I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm not even going to lie to you. On the other show, on my other podcast, I picked the Seahawks to beat the Patriots 20-10. So when you said that, I just stayed shut, but I was just kind of laughing over here. I was like, yeah.
I'm not stealing your prediction.
You went and watched the podcast and then stole my scores.
But yeah, I have the Lions 31-27. Baker looks like he's continuing to play good like he did last year. I really thought the loss of Dave Canales would have more of an impact on him. And with Godwin and Mike Evans getting up there in age, I didn't expect it to be that much of a drop off. I still thought Baker would be good because he does have good weapons around him, but I expected there to be so much of a difference. And honestly, he played better. What I think it is he looked good in Cleveland, and then he played with a torn labrum for an entire year, and then he went to the Panthers. And every time you play for the Panthers, if you look bad, you should just get a free pass because they're the Panthers. That doesn't count really. It's like playing with a middle school team going against NFL teams. Like, cut him some slack there. But he's found a home in Tampa. He's got his confidence back. I mean, he's got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. The rookie Jalen McMillan had a 30-yard touchdown. The offensive line looks good. Bucky Irving looks to be like a steal they found in, I think, the 4th round out of Oregon. Him and Rachaad White are a good duo. So I really do like the Bucs. They're just the Lions are the Lions are basically just they're basically just a little bit better version of the Bucs at almost every position. The the Bucs kind of are like a Walmart Detroit Lions team to me. A very talented team within like an elite game manager quarterback, not an elite quarterback because but they're like elite game managers. With great offenses around them, they can put up very gaudy numbers.
See, that's the thing in this game. What wins the Lions this game for me is the defense. I trust the Lions defense more than the Bucs. Like, they lost Carlton Davis and stuff like that. They lost Sean Murphy Bunting to the Cardinals. So when you lose all these different guys in the secondary, when you literally traded Carlton Davis to the Lions, like, you can't go against them, especially when they got Reader too, a better Aleem McNeil up front too. Like, oh my gosh,
and they still have Aleem McNeil.
And then I know, but I'm saying you.
No, I get what you're saying.
Starts, so yeah, and then Terry and Arnold. So
yes, and then since I didn't want to choose the same game of the week as Thomas, I will pick this next game to be the game of the week: the Rams versus the Cardinals. I expect this to be a pretty good, high-scoring game. I'm excited to watch this game. I mean, there's only 4 o'clock games, so luckily I'll be able to have all 3 of them on. Probably won't pay attention. Actually, might not put on the Steelers and Broncos game, but I don't know. I might put it on. I mean, we got 3 TVs out there. We might just do 2 Rams Cardinals and 1 Bengals Chiefs, or vice versa. Me and my friends will figure that out on Sunday. That's the beauty of the Sunday ticket and still having like cable TV, so I just get any game I want.
Not sponsored.
And since we're in college, we get it so cheap.
Yeah, I know.
Instead of paying $500, it's $200. So
it's better than having to pay for a Panthers game.
Well, I mean, actually, you can go to a Panthers game for $1. Did you see the one Panthers fan sold? Yeah, $1.80 2 tickets. It's crazy. But anyways, getting a little sidetracked here. But what are your thoughts on the Rams Cardinals game?
Man, I think that you're right on the money with that. And I'm hoping it's not the same score, but I think it could be 27-20. Rams beat the Cardinals. I think it's going to be a very good game. I think that the Rams defense is going to struggle with James Conner. They struggled against the run last week with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs back-to-back. I get it. It's a better running duo, but still, I do think that James Conner is going to have a solid game in this one. And then on the defensive side of the ball for the Cardinals, I think their D-line is like their biggest weakness. And right now with the Rams offensive line being as beat up as it is, I think they can get some decent pressure to Stafford. I think they'll be able to get some decent like pressure in this game. And that's going to be what keeps this one close. I think the defense is solid for them. I just think that at the end of the day, it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be back and forth on the offensive sides. I saw something about how Kyler Murray's been dealing with a knee injury in practice, so he was questionable and he will play, but he could potentially like that could limit his running ability, and if he can not run as well, then that leans in my favor for the Rams here. Not that I would ever go against Los Angeles Rams against the Cardinals anyway, because they do have number 9 on their team, Matthew Stafford. I think Cooper Kupp absolutely tears everybody apart in this game, especially with Nakua gone and Higbee still on IR or whatever. Colby Parkinson could maybe get in there. I don't know, but like Demarcus Robinson,
or Tyler Johnson. He
you're
kind
right.
of had a renaissance.
I
picked up like Parkinson, Tyler Johnson, and Demarcus Robinson in a lot of leagues. Funny story, actually, in one of my leagues today, Demarcus Robinson was available. My friend literally he texted me about it, had him like about picked up, and he was in the screen where you have to drop someone. As he did that, I went and picked him up. He was that close, and he texted. He was like, I was literally about to pick him up when he did that. And I wasn't even thinking about it, but I got like a notification that's
what happened.
Someone up. So like I went to just check, and I'm like, oh, he's still available. So and I just basically did it quicker than him. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was funny. But
that's what happened in my draft, dude.
I'm gonna go with the Rams 24-20. At the end of the day, they have the way better coaching. They have the way better quarterback, and even though they're dealing with all these injuries, I'm not betting against Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford against a team like the Cardinals, who I think are better than last year, but they're not like an extremely talented team. So quarterback and head coach will be able to make all the difference that's needed. I mean, yeah, as long as Stafford can be throwing to Kupp, Stafford can make a nobody look like a good receiver because as I've been saying, he's the 6th best quarterback in the league. He is just a pure gunslinger. With that,
I definitely think that like there's no one that he's not out of the top 8. He's definitely in the top 8 at the very worst.
For me, he's in like tier 4 of quarterbacks. It's Mahomes is tier 1, Josh is tier 2, and then Burrow, Herbert, and Lamar are tier 3, and then he's tier 4. That's just personally out.
And with Hurts and then Prescott.
Nope. I have with like CJ and Prescott. I have with Stroud and Prescott. I have with Stroud and Prescott because it's like. Tier 1 is Mahomes. That's his own title. Allen is tier 2. And then you have like elite franchise quarterbacks is tier 3. Then you have elite gunslingers is tier 4. That's kind of how I have it. That's my top 8. But I think Stafford is the best pure gunslinger in the league. And yeah, Kupp has a renaissance. Tyler Johnson looked good. Demarcus Robinson, Colby Parkinson. I mean, they still got Kyren Williams. Stafford's able to take nobodies and make them look great because he's just able to. And then with McVay's play calling, it's against a weak Cardinals defense. I think even with all these injuries, they still put up points. I think it's in Arizona. I think that's why they'll be able to keep it close. Kyler will, even though he said it's not his job to throw to Marvin Harrison, the game plan, I bet you, will probably to try and get Marvin Harrison more involved, which should, in thought, should help their offense look a little bit better. So, yeah, Rams 24-20. And then moving on to the next game that, if you're not a Broncos or Steelers fan and you're watching this game, what are you doing? Because, the Steelers and the Broncos, what are your thoughts on this game?
Real quick, I'm just going to throw it out there. 20-3 Pittsburgh beats Denver. I don't think that the Broncos are going to have a very good game at all. I think Bo Nix was in hell last week. I think it's even it's 10 times worse this time around. If you would have told me that there were 2 safeties last week, I probably would have believed both of them went to the Seahawks. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that the Broncos I kind of was a little too high last week on the Denver Broncos. I'll admit that, but it's week 1. A lot of wonky stuff. Okay, but a lot of wonky stuff happens in week 1 and stuff. So if there was any upset I was going to predict, it would have been the Broncos beating Seattle, not the Bengals losing to the Patriots. Like that would not have been the game I would have picked, but it happened. And I think that this game is just going to be a complete crapshoot for the Steelers offense. You don't really know what you're going to get. So I think that they'll have a solid game, but I mean, it's going to be more so about the Broncos just like having 3 plays than punting every single drive. And then the Steelers just kind of eventually have to score, right? So it's like if like they can't manage 20 points in this game. It's going to be upsetting. I think they get 20 right on the dot, 20-3. Sean Payton and that Broncos team, not exactly what everyone thought they could be.
No, they're exactly what I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
Give me 16-6 Broncos.
All
This
those
is going to be a
idiots
feel
all those idiot like NFL insiders that pick the Broncos to make like the playoffs as the 6 and 7 seeds. Like,
because of Bo Nix looked good in the preseason, like that's ever mattered ever. Yeah, but 16-6 Steelers. I mean, you'd have to pay me money to watch this game. I mean, this is gonna be bad. Both offenses aren't good. The thing is, at least the Steelers have an elite defense, and the Broncos have an elite nothing. They're gonna have an elite draft pick. That's what they're gonna have when they absolutely suck.
I would love it if they went out.
There's not even much I really have to say.
I would love it.
The Broncos offense sucks. The Steelers offense is extremely below mid. And then the Steelers defense is elite and the Broncos defense is awful. So yeah, 16-6. Moving on
people saying that they might pick Arch Manning in the 26th draft, like they keep Nix next year and then like see if he develops, he doesn't develop, and then
that's probably what it'll be. I highly doubt
that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. So
I think the Giants should do the same thing. They should wait for the Arch Manning. Plus, I don't know. I feel like there's probably other good quarterbacks.
I'm high on Carson Beck. If they can get back, if they can't get back, don't do it.
I'm not high. I just think in particular you're gonna be
I would love that too.
Yeah, but I'm saying for the Giants in particular, say if you throw them into that dumpster fire with no good offensive lineman besides Andrew Thomas and no good receivers besides Malik Neighbors, you're gonna be giving them the same thing as Daniel Jones. So I think you take this year.
Receivers. I think Slayton's all right.
Slayton can't stay healthy. He's
Wan'Dale Robinson's pretty good, and then Jalen Hyatt's been solid too.
He's mid. They're mid.
They're around the same as the. I view them a lot like the Ravens. Like really, the Ravens have Flowers versus Neighbors, and then just kind of
Carson Beck's not Lamar Jackson. Don't try and make that comparison.
No, Lamar runs a lot, though. I'm saying
exactly. He doesn't need to throw the ball. Carson Beck's someone that needs to throw the ball. I think it would be dumb to put him in that situation. I think you use this year to bolster that offensive line and the receiving core more, and then you just get a bridge quarterback, probably suck again, then get a quarterback. Doubt they do that. Pretty rare owners do that, or GMs ever do that, so I don't expect it to happen, but that would be the smart thing. Anyways,
Giants,
as we keep getting sidetracked almost after every game, it's all right. Not a bad thing. But we have the Bengals and the Chiefs. This could be a really good game. This could be a Chiefs blowout. I really don't know. It depends on if Burrow was just his normal week one terrible self or if that wrist is really bothering him. I do not know. We'll find out more this week. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm not going to lie to you. I think that the Chiefs get very, very lucky here that this is not week 9, week 10 Cincinnati. Because if this is later season Cincinnati, they kind of have everything together. They know what they're doing by that point. Early season Bengals is just garbage. I don't know what it is with Cincinnati, but they can't play well out of the gate. Like I was mentioning last week with LSU, I feel like he's just kind of too much of a Brian Kelly-led person because if Brian Kelly loses, then I have to lose. Like that's just his whole philosophy, I guess, something. But
I don't think Brian Kelly lost last week, though.
No, in week 1. Like week 1.
I'm saying I don't think he did in week 2, though.
No, not to Nichols. He would be fired instantly. Like, please. But I do think that the Bengals will do solid in this game. I feel like it's just one of those things, like a rivalry matchup. Like, look last year with the Bills and the Patriots. The Patriots were miles worse than the Buffalo Bills last year, and they came in and they came in and won that game in week 7, I think it was. So realistically, to be able to win that game, I think that the Bengals won't win. I think 28-20 is fair, though. It's just one of those games where I think it's going to be two rivals going at it. It's always close. I'm right on the cusp of picking the Chiefs by 2 scores because of how bad the Bengals early season are. But I'm going to say 28-20. They get the job done in this one.
Okay, so quick sidebar into baseball. Because I was just looking at this. Aaron Judge, have my children. I want to kiss you on the lips. Guess what he just did for the Yankees to win?
What did he do?
Go ahead, grand slam. They were down 4-1 and he hit a grand slam and they won 5-4.
That's crazy.
I love you.
We beat the Phillies 11-3.
I love you.
And Lindor got injured.
I love you, Aaron Judge. Pete Alonso hit a home run because I have been in fantasy league.
I'm
But
so mad.
anyways, back to fantasy, or back to football. We have the Chiefs Bengals. Yeah, I expect the Chiefs to win this game. I will go 30-20, but I could see a world where the Chiefs pull this or the Bengals pull this off. Say Burrow, it's back to himself. Him and Jamar just kind of dominate with Snead not being there anymore. I hope Chase has a big game, but I think even if they just get to like a normal Bengals, I think the Chiefs are just an overall more talented, better coach team. They have the better quarterback. So, yeah, I'm going to give I think the Chiefs are at home. So 30-20 Chiefs. I think they kind of pull away with this game in the fourth quarter. I expect it to be a good game to watch, but yeah, give me Chiefs. Moving
We
into
have
Sunday night football.
disagreed. We have disagreed with one game, by the way, the Giants game. That's it.
That's
Just want to throw
crazy.
that out
This
there.
I feel like this week there isn't really a lot of like
Me and my friend Owen,
sloppy
we both
games.
went back and forth, and we literally had the same teams for each game out of all of them. And I was just like, there's not many games where you can really switch
Yeah,
who you pick.
exactly. There isn't many this week
Like
unless
that
you're like a
Giants Commanders game's a toss up, but every other game is pretty cut and dry, I feel.
yeah, even the Rams are somehow favored or the Cardinals are somehow favored. That just doesn't really make much sense to me. But yeah, there's not a
People are
lot
buying
of
too
like
much into the
looks
injuries.
like they're
And
going to be like super close games. The Packers Colts game could have if Jordan Love was healthy, but he's
dude,
not.
I was so hyped for that game too.
Moving into Sunday night though, we have Bears Texans.
24-13 Houston wins in this one. I think that the Texans are going to have a solid game on offense. I think that they could very well score 30 points, but considering how good the Bears defense was last week, albeit against Will Levis and the Titans, I think there'll be a solid game plan in place by Matt Eberflus. I think they'll have a solid game here, and they'll give up around 24, I think, at the end. On the Bears side, I'm still not sold on Caleb Williams, especially this week going up against a miles better defense in the Texans compared to the Titans. I think that he's going to struggle a lot. I think maybe he gets his first career touchdown pass. Who knows? But with Keenan Allen and Romo Dunze both questionable with injuries, I do not see how this offense is going to be better than last week, especially with the same thing, like I mentioned, with this defense being that much better. I don't know how good of a game they're going to have. I think last week they barely scraped by, and I think this time around they're going to get flattened by the Houston Texans on prime time. I think Caleb Williams normally plays better in prime time, but I do not think that that will be the case this time around. 24-13, Houston wins in a very convincing fashion.
Give me the Texans 20-17. I think the Bears defense is going to be able to keep this close, and I think Caleb Williams is better. Week one of your first career start, I think even though he claims he doesn't get nervous, I think there was some week one jitters. I mean, their offensive line kind of like killed them. That was part of it. And going against the Texans, it doesn't really get any easier. It's going to get worse. But at the same time, I just expect it. He's now has a week of film to look after and things to really improve because preseason's one thing. That's a week of NFL. He's learning. I think he gets it under his system a little bit better, and I think he comes out and has a better game. And being on prime time, I think he'll match up to it, and I think he will play better. But ultimately, the Texans are the far better team. They have the better quarterback. They have the better coaching. So 20-17 Houston. And then moving on to the final game of week 2 NFL, we have the Eagles and the Falcons on Monday night.
I'm not going to lie. I really contemplated picking the Atlanta Falcons in this one. It's just with Kirk Cousins being the quarterback, man. We all know about his Monday Night Football history. So I do think that it's going to be one of those weeks, one of those games for the Falcons that they're going to keep this close. And I think there's a sneaky chance they pull this one off. But I have to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. They went nuts last week on offense. I think they have a solid game this week. I mean, if you can drop 34 points last week against Jordan Love and the Packers, I feel like this week you got to be able to put up 27, especially with all the injuries and stuff like not the injuries, but the turnovers and stuff like that they had with Hurts. Hurts really didn't have that great of a game. I think he has a better game this time around. And I think that the Eagles are going to have a solid game plan in place. I think that they're going to win this one 27-20. The Falcons offense looks a lot better in this one. I feel like it's just going to be Kirk Cousins in prime time. I can't pick him in this situation. But I do think that this one's a very close one right up to the end and very cool start to Monday Night Football. I really liked both matchups. I'm hoping it's not a blowout this time, but I think the Eagles win 27-20.
Give me the Eagles 34-21. I think their offense, I mean, last week they played bad and they still dropped over 30 points against the Packers
Exactly.
defense that has some stars. The Falcons defense is kind of similar to the Packers defense. They have a lot of stars, not a lot of depth, and the Eagles were just able to dominate. I mean, the addition of
Better
Saquon
secondary, though.
has really taken that offense to the next level. I really, yeah, but a much worse D line and run defense. So I think Saquon can have
Right.
another huge game, and I think Jalen Hurts will play a little bit better. I don't think he's going to throw all these awful picks or what should have been picks if they weren't dropped. And then on the other side, you got Monday Night Kirk, but I think they're still going to be able to drop in the 20s because I'm not too sold on the Eagles defense at all. And at the same time, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. I'm not too sold on the Eagles defense, and Bijan looked pretty good against Pittsburgh. Granted, it was against Pittsburgh, but he got a lot of touches and had a pretty good fantasy game with not really doing without the Falcons really doing too much. Now they're playing an easier defense. Josh Jacobs in that second half was kind of running down their throats, and Bijan I think is a much better running back than Jacobs. So, and you can make an argument that the Falcons have a better offensive line than the Packers. So I expect them to just kind of run it down the the Eagles' throats. And I think Bijan has a big game, and Kirk has a bad game, but does enough to the offense where they can still score some points. But their defense is going to get trampled by this Eagles offense that is just loaded everywhere. So yeah, 34-21 is my final. One thing I got to ask you, I never got your upset of the week. I don't think.
I guess my upset of the week, considering I was pretty cut and dry about everything, I would say my upset of the week would be we'll go with the Commanders beating the Giants, considering we were
That's not an
back in
upset.
like they're
So
technically
actually looking at it,
technically
your only upset is the Rams beating the Cardinals.
The
So
Rams,
that's your
yeah.
upset. Not really an upset,
Yeah,
but because
upset of the week, baby.
because you went with
gonna
basically
be
most
right.
favorites. Yeah. All right. But yeah, I guess I'll give that to you. Moving on, we'll talk a little bit of college football before we end the podcast for the night. There isn't too much going on. Actually, one of the ranked games is currently going on right now as Kansas State is up on Arizona 21-7 with 6:45 left in the third. Arizona has the ball 3rd and 8 at Kansas State's 49. Noah Fifita, Arizona's quarterback, has 174 yards and a pick. 100 of those yards is to Torrey McMillan, who is an actual god. He's a complete beast. And then on Kansas State side of the ball, quarterback Avery Johnson has 126 yards and 2 touchdowns passing. No one really is really standing out. It's a well balanced for Kansas State. Now it's 4th and 8 at Kansas State's 49, so it looks like Arizona will be punting. That game is on Fox, so I'm probably actually going to turn this on once we're done. The other ranked game we have is Boston College, Missouri. And since I guess the Arizona Kansas State's game's already going on, I'll get your thoughts on Boston College, Missouri then.
Well, yeah, I think that Kansas State is going to win that one. Obviously, they're already up 14, so I think they hold on and win that, especially late in the game right now. I do think that McMillan is going to be a very solid receiver for Arizona, though, so that's awesome for them, even with the loss tonight. Missouri versus Boston College, I think, is going to be a very solid game. I think Mizzou with Luther Burden is going to get the job done, 27-17. I think Brady Cook has a solid game. I think that Thomas Castellanos, who's been very good so far, I feel like this is going to be a big test to see how good of a defense they really are. I mean, Florida State, you beat Florida State and stuff like that. Their defense is very solid, but they did lose a lot of pieces in the offseason with Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. There's a lot of things happening on that defense. So realistically, I think this is going to be a very big shot for them too to win this one. I'm going to go 27-20. I think that Mizzou gets the job done. I think it's going to be a very close game, back and forth, but I do think Brady Cook and Luther Burden are going to win them this game.
Yeah, personally, I think Boston College is not very good. They've beaten 2 teams that are
I don't know how they're
0-4.
ranked already.
And Missouri hasn't a lot of point this year. Granted, they haven't played anyone good, but that defense has looked pretty legit. So give me Missouri 27-6. I think they absolutely stomp down Boston College and show them that they should not have been ranked. They beat a Florida State team who was ranked at the time, but granted, Florida State is just actually bad. They should not have been ranked. They just suck. Right. I think Boston College could have a decent year in the ACC, but they're no match for Missouri. I mean, that defense, how good it's looked. Again, even though they've only played like mid majors and FCS schools, still allowing 0 points through 2 games to 2 D1 programs is impressive still. So I really do like Missouri to dominate. Yeah, 27-6. Luther Burden, I think, and or what is his, not Connor Cook, why can't Brady Cook
Brady
will
Cook.
will do enough for Missouri to put up some points. And yeah, I don't expect much out of this. And then me personally, another game I'm looking forward to watch as a Gators fan is going to be Florida Texas A&M, as true freshman DJ Lagway makes a second career start, his first one against a legitimate opponent. He played Samford last week. I mean, granted, the Gators did dominate. They
Right.
were, and
Obviously.
Lagway had an insane game, but it was against Samford, who is 0-2. They're a pretty bad team. I mean, Lagway with 450 yards and 3 touchdowns on like 25 attempts, 18 yards an attempt is pretty insane. So I am excited to see what he does against Texas A&M. I'll be watching that game it's at 3:30 on Saturday. Texas A&M is favored by 4, but I am going to pick the Gators because I'm a Gators fan and I can. I don't know. I've just never been a big fan of Texas A&M, and I think Lagway is going to bring a spark to that offense. Some other games we were talking about earlier that could be pretty good would be Alabama, Wisconsin. What are your thoughts on that game?
I think Bama wins 24-16. I think one thing about Wisconsin is their defense is a lot better than years of late. I think that Wisconsin Iowa is going to be a snooze fest, probably like a 6-3 final score. But I do think that Wisconsin's going to keep this one close. I mean, Alabama last week against the USF was absolutely atrocious. I can't believe that game was even that close. I actually turned it on at the end, considering I was hoping for an upset. I was like, oh, if they upset them, and then I turned it on, and like that's when Alabama went nuts. So. I do think Alabama holds on and wins this one as well. 24-16 is my score prediction. I think that Alabama's defense is going to be very good as well in this one. I realistically think that Wisconsin's not the greatest on offense. I mean, they'll have a solid game, but I think Tanner Mordecai is not going to do that great. I think Bama pretty much just decimates in this one. So realistically, I think it's closer than it might end up actually being, but 24-16, Alabama gets it done.
I'll go 24-10 Alabama. I was tempted to go higher and have Alabama score in the 30s, and they realistically could. I mean, you got Jalen Milroe, and you got that true freshman who has absolutely lit it up the first 2 weeks. I can't think of his name. The wide receiver looks like he's going to be an actual stud. And then, yeah, Jalen Milroe, obviously he's a beast. So they could put up 30-plus points, but with the way they looked against USF last week, and now they're playing a team like Wisconsin, I think they are not going to have a great game offensively. So, yeah, 24-10 seems pretty realistic. I honestly don't know too much about Wisconsin, so I could be so off. And then I guess the only other game I really want to talk about this week isn't really great for college football would be LSU is traveling to South Carolina. South Carolina is 2-0, so they're looking to become 3-0 against an LSU team that they are 1-1. They did lose to USC, but we don't really know how good this team is going to be this year after how much they lost. Going into South Carolina, they could be on upset alert. What are your thoughts about this game?
I mean, I think that this will be a solid game. I think that South Carolina is going to keep this one close for the majority of it. I am a little nervous after they struggled with Nichols for 2.5, 3 quarters last week. So realistically, LSU is kind of a little weirder than years past. So I do think this is the week that they normally turn it on, though. Week 3 is normally the week of college football where we finally start to see LSU show up and show out. And I think they're going to do that in this game on the road in South Carolina. 27-20, they win, which the spread is 7 points. I think they win by 7 points. So I do think that LSU barely can scrape by in this one. I think they're going to show a lot of what they can do on offense with I forget the quarterback's name there, but I can't remember. But anyway, I do think that
let me check it.
I forget his name, man.
Nussmeier.
Nussmeier, there we go.
Yeah.
I think Nussmeier does all right. He's the junior quarterback, but I do think that he's a quarterback that can be solid. He's had over 300 yards passing in both games. I think, yeah, Nichols, woohoo, good, congratulations. But I do think they have a solid game this week, and they're going to kind of show what they can do in the college football landscape. 27-20 win over South Carolina.
All right, so that's all we have for you guys today. We're really looking forward to this great weekend of football coming up ahead of us. I hope you guys all have a great night. And if you enjoy this, please like and subscribe and share it with your friends so we can keep growing this and getting the word out. This is where you get your news from the 716. Signing out. I will talk to you guys on Tuesday.